of the Union Jack.
Union Jack.
They're also the colors of the French flag.
Yes, but in a different way.
Yes, but the colors, the red, the blue, and the white are the same
yes,
colors.
red, white, and blue.
Yes. And if you see, you can see the plane being pushed slowly back. Of course, we don't want to overcompensate and send it too far the other side.
And the tarmac are the dignitaries, of course, including the Governor General, the members of Cabinet, members of the Judiciary. They'll all be met. The Queen will meet all of them before she departs for Government House.
And the door
is now being opened. That's the ADC 2. That's one of the Queen's ADCs, it seems.
Yes, greeted by Elvin Seeley, who is manager for British Airways. And they position themselves at the bottom of the steps. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, her consort.
The fanfare being played by the band as the Queen comes down the steps.
And she meets Governor General Sir Hugh Springer and Lady Springer. Prime Minister Erskine Sandiford and Mrs. Sandiford.
The Governor General, I believe, will now take her along the line
to be introduced to the other dignitaries. Of course, Queen Elizabeth is a very gracious lady.
No, that's Captain Bostic, her equerry in Barbados. Captain Vickers, the ADC to the Governor General. The Chief Justice being met now.
And Lady
Mrs. Williams. Deputy Prime Minister. And the airport manager, Mr. Pat Callender. Commissioner of Police.
Orville Durant.
Chief of Staff, Brigadier Lewis.
And here comes the moment that these two little girls have been waiting for. 6-year-old Natalie Scott of Christchurch Girls' School. She's the daughter of Gabby Scott and Avonda Scott, and she presents a bouquet to Her Majesty.
Prince Philip will have his buttonhole pinned on him.
Natalie is 6 years old, and she says she's in Form B1 at Christchurch Girls' School. Her Majesty proceeds to the dais. Meanwhile, Sophia Catwell presents a buttonhole to Prince Philip. And she's 13 years old. She's from the Alexandra School.
Now the start of the 21-gun salute. 2 verses of the national anthem will be played. It's sung of the
party has been welcomed to Barbados.
21-gun salute given sovereigns, presidents, heads of state. Right, the parade commander, the guard commander, Captain Nurse, now reports to the Queen and invites her to inspect the guard. Guards of honor, the highest form of respect, that and a mark of affection and friendliness paid to visiting dignitaries by the armed forces. Has a long history.
And of course, Queen Elizabeth II is no stranger to inspecting guards.
Oh.
Her first official engagement at the age of 16 was when she inspected the Grenadier Guards, of which she was then colonel. She's now, of course, Colonel-in-Chief of the Guards regiments, and as head Queen of England, Queen of Great Britain, she heads that country's Navy, Army, and Air Force.
She's inspected so many guards before that she knows what she's looking for.
And they're all very smartly turned out in their dress uniforms and the cockade, which always interests me. What is the significance of the cockade, Captain Walker?
The
significance of the cockade, the plume in the hat?
Well, that's part of the uniform. I think this uniform was designed by Colonel Banfield before he left. He saw it somewhere else. I think the Gurkhas wear plume in their hats. He thought it would look very nice on our troops, and he organized it to be here. But there's no special significance to the plumes at the moment. It's just a design of a uniform. The Queen is very knowledgeable about these things, and as we said, she's had a lot of experience with all kinds of ceremonials. She could probably teach me a thing or two.
And I always take particular pride in seeing the women on parade.
Oh, yes.
Because traditionally it has been a thing for men.
Right.
More recently, women have joined in, and they have done very well indeed.
Might be difficult to distinguish the women from the men in the guard at this time, because I think they all
you can
wear...
tell the difference. And
they're all wearing trousers at the moment. That's Mr. Moore, the director
of the
music,
Royal,
Senior Superintendent Moore. And she's having a word with him, directing music. Guard commander now takes his leave. Queen, I believe, will go back and be joined by Prime Minister Sandiford, who will take her along the line of other dignitaries.
She will also, of course, be accompanied by Deputy Prime Minister Philip Graves as well. And they will present the other dignitaries to Her Majesty.
The Prime Minister is now taken over.
And of course, the wind at
Yes.
Grantley Adams is rather high, so Her Majesty has to keep her head slightly bowed and make sure her hat is in place every now and then. And here she meets Attorney General Maurice King.
And Mrs. King.
Mrs. King.
Sir James Tudor.
Yes. Branford Tate, Minister of Health. And Mrs. Tate. Evelyn Graves and Mrs. Graves. Minister of Agriculture, Warwick Franklin and Mrs. Franklin. And Harold Blackman, Minister of Housing and Lands, and Mrs. Blackman. Honorable Keith Simmons and Mrs. Simmons. Wes Hall, Minister of Tourism and Sports. And she has a word for him. I'm sure she remembers his name as a fast bowler from the West Indies. And the Honourable Harcourt Lewis and Mrs. Lewis. Cyril Walker, Minister of Education. Dr. Don Blackman. And of course, all the photographers are trying to get the best vantage point, to get their best shots. This is an opportunity that will not come again in some time. And here she meets Sir Frank Walcott.
And Mrs. Walcott, and the Speaker of the House.
Lawson Weeks.
Dr. Jacobs Haynes.
Carol Jacobs, yes. And Richie Haynes, the leader of the opposition. Cheryl Ford and Henry Ford. And the Bishop of Barbados, Drexel Gomez, and Mrs. Gomez. She has a special word with him. And Canon Sion Goodrich and Mrs. Goodrich. The Honourable Douglas Lynch and Mrs. Lynch. Reverend Holmes Williams, who is chairman of the Barbados Christian Council, he's here in that capacity. Mr. Oreste Di Giacomo, the ambassador of the Republic of Venezuela, who is also dean of the Diplomatic Corps, and Mrs. Giacomo. And the head of the Civil Service, Branston Cullimore, and Mrs. Cullimore. And Mr. Will Rogers, Secretary to the Cabinet, who is also coordinating the royal visit. And those are the people who will be presented to Her Majesty this evening. And the Prime Minister, I believe, trying to block a little of the wind. It was interesting that the buttonhole presented to Prince Philip was presented by a pupil of the Alexandra School. I don't know if it was deliberate, but one of Her Majesty's names is Alexandra. She's in fact Elizabeth Alexandra Mary. And here she takes a chance to go over and chat with some of the members of the crowd. Really? Her Majesty is always so very gracious. She takes the time to stop and chat with ordinary people. She's comes across as a very people's person.
Rather dangerous and risky in these days.
I don't think she stands any harm in Barbados, though.
Well, I think the people who have the responsibility for protecting her have a grave responsibility.
Yes, but I think it also makes a lot of difference how people feel about her.
Oh, yes.
Because of the very fact that she talks to them, she's gracious enough to, meet with them.
In fact, I think she's asked for that to be put in the program, that she meets as many people as possible.
As possible, yes.
In as informal a way as possible.
Yes. And of course, this Queen Elizabeth is no stranger to Barbados. She has been here several times. Oh, yes. She went here in 1966 when Barbados, the same year as Barbados' independence. She was here in February.